Hi, I'm Andy Walker of Digital Farm TV News. In good news for Australian producers, agricultural prices are expected to remain historically high for the time being. But 2012 would also see price volatility for many commodities. This was the word last week from NAB Agribusiness General Manager Khan Horn, who said the bank's Rural Commodities Price Index hit record levels in 2011 and averaged 17% higher than the 10-year mean. He said it took around 10 months for the index to break through the average and reach record highs in 2011. And based on current production and macroeconomic projections, it would take around 2 years to return to more normal levels. Khan Horn said a massive supply response was underway globally. But rising demand and consumption were expected to leave stocks for some commodities tight throughout 2012. Thousands of visitors from all states and overseas have visited 263 beef cattle studs during Beef Week in the nation's southeast. Director Jeff Phillips rated this year's Beef Week as the best ever in the 20-year history of the event, with many properties attracting more than 100 visitors.
I think Beef Week's successful because it allows producers to focus all of their efforts in terms of their marketing efforts in one day. And so you're open for one day and you get 20, 30 or 40 people along who are genuine and they want to have a look at your cattle and ask you questions, and we can really concentrate in one day.
The Beef Week Field Day, which we're part of today, which is the Stock and Land Beef Week Field Day, we have been part of that since the inaugural Field Day nearly 20 years ago, and that's been a really good way for us to market to people, for people to come and see not only the bulls that we have for sale, but also to come and see what stands behind those bulls, and that's the breeding herd and the heifers and various other aspects that they may not see on just sale day.
I think the beef industry is at a high in terms of its interest, and the outcome for people who've been participating in Beef Week has been seen by other studs, and so consequently it's a professional platform for people to present their stud and property.
We've had a good day. We've probably had at least 80 visitors through. We've had some sales moving forward, so it's probably been one of our most successful Beef Week field days.
Properties with bulls for sale on the day reported strong demand and many sales, while studs with upcoming autumn bull sales had intending buyers looking through the catalogue of bulls on display, he said. A new Beef Week feature, the Heifer Challenge, attracted more than 80 pens of 10 heifers, with assessors reporting excellent quality. This has made it extremely difficult to come up with the 10 to 15 finalists competing for the $4,500 prize money. The National Farmers Federation late last week called on the Coles supermarket empire to demonstrate how its latest campaign slashing the price of fresh fruit and vegetables would not impact on the farm gate prices. NFF President Jock Laurie said that on the day the UN released its latest report warning of the risk that not enough food will be produced to feed the world's booming population, Coles had announced that it is cutting fresh fruit and vegetable prices. Most importantly, consumers needed to understand that a cut in fresh fruit and vegetable prices may be good for their hip pockets in the short term, but not necessarily positive for the farmers who grow the produce. The NFF was seeking ironclad guarantees that farm gate prices will not be slashed in line with this pricing decision by Coles, Jock Laurie said. As the winter crop sowing season is set to arrive this year, grain growers have been urged to draw up a rust management plan as part of their cropping program. This was the call late last week from the Australian Cereal Rust Control Program Consultative Committee Chairman, Grant Holloway. He said that while rust could be controlled in susceptible and very susceptible varieties through the careful use of fungicides, growing these varieties could in reality jeopardise current and future disease resistance on farm. Grant Holloway urged growers to remove the green bridge volunteer plants at least 4 weeks before the start of the sowing, grow varieties with adequate resistance to stem, stripe and leaf rusts, If needed, apply fungicides to seed or fertilisers for early season rust suppression. Monitor crops for rust and, if needed, applying foliar fungicides for disease control. Travelling north, the Japanese government last week announced today that it had suspended imports of Australian poultry products and egg-derived products. This was in response to notification of a low pathogenic influenza in ducks on a property in Victoria. Questions have now been raised as to the extent of the suppression, given that many Australian processed foods contain small amounts of egg-based ingredients. The Federal Agriculture Department has urged Australian exporters of locally processed foods containing small amounts of egg products to contact their buyers to confirm export conditions for Japan. DAF said the government was working closely with Australian industry and stakeholders to ensure there is no disruption in trade. And in late-breaking news, it has been revealed that Hong Kong, Singapore and Vietnam have joined the ban on Australian poultry and egg products. Meanwhile, in the USA, South Dakota State University aquaculture research has shown that soy and corn can provide high-performance farmed fish diets. Research scientist Professor Michael Brown's latest work finds that some diets using soy protein concentrates, or SPC, perform as well as fish meal-based diets. Fish meal is becoming increasingly scarce on world markets and is subsequently gaining rapidly in expense. Given the limited available supply and cost of fish meal and oils, plant-derived replacements were going to be highly valued in the marketplace, Professor Brown said. This meant that soybean and corn producers could add value to their crops, according to Professor Brown, who uses soybean meal, soy protein concentrates and corn-based dry distiller grains with solubles as primary ingredients in his experimental fish diets.